There we go. This is good software. It's more private than Zoom, and when I get the recording comes to me, I can download it and I can send you the MP4 of the recording as well. So like on Zoom, it's difficult to actually get the recording and send it to others. On this one, it'll give you it straight away, and I'll send it to you. Okay.
Well, actually, so I have to ask you if I can record it my end.
Well, I'll send you
Oh,
this recording.
yeah, okay.
I don't know how we would do that. I mean, how
Yeah,
you would record it, but literally it just records it on there, and I'll send it straight to you.
okay, cool.
It's really good like that. So it's recording now. Okay, let's get ready. Hi everybody, and welcome back to Checkmate the Matrix. Today we have another great guest, someone I've actually been watching for quite some time, and I think is absolutely fantastic at what he does. So what I'd like to do is to introduce you to Allegedly Dave. How are you
Hey,
doing?
how you doing? All right.
Yeah, good. So just to start it off, then you have to tell everybody where you are and what you're up to, because you're definitely not in the same place as me.
Definitely not. No, I'm in St. Lucia right now. It's another beautiful day in paradise, and yeah, I usually spend the winter over here.
Absolutely fantastic. I mean, there's, I bet you there's a lot of other people who would want to do it, at least in warmer climes anyway. But I know myself being to St. Lucia before, it is absolutely paradise. It's absolutely gorgeous over there. Unfortunately for you, you're going to be coming back here soon, next week or something. So when you come back, what plans do you have on doing anything for we the people, as you would call it, and what are you going to be up to in that line of things?
Well, I'm going to start another tour. Not as big as the last year's tour, but yeah, I'm going around giving my new talk actually, which is about essentially about the powers that we have in this world. You know what this world really is, and how to access these abilities that we naturally have, but we've forgotten about. So yeah, it's really exciting actually because um, it feels like I've been led to find this information out like piece by piece. And if you watch my videos kind of in order, you can see my thought patterns as I start to understand all this. So yeah, it's really exciting.
Brilliant. So obviously you're still on holiday, as it were, but have you actually booked anywhere, or are you just going to start working on that when you actually get back?
No, I've actually started putting some of the dates on my website. That's allegedlydave.com. So I've got April's events in there, and I'm just about to put May's events in there, and I think this tour is going to just go up to about June.
Okay, brilliant. What I'll do is I'll actually get that, and I'll share the screen in a second. So the is this like whereabouts that you live, or have you actually ventured further afield?
Oh, I'm going all the way up to Scotland in the I think that's going to be in June. But yeah, I'm going all over the country. Actually, the first talk I'm giving is in Hong Kong.
Oh, okay. That's definitely a bit further away from your home then. That's for sure.
A little bit.
Okay, brilliant. So what I'll do is I'll get the dates in, and when we've actually finished, if anybody's panicking about like missing any links, don't worry. I'll put all of the links in the description, so you'll be able to get a hold of it and see anywhere where you want to actually go and have a good chat and listen to Allegedly Dave. Now, you were doing a course. I know this is going back a while because I spoke to you about it. You were doing it like on the Peace Constable. Do you still actually have any working in that, or do you like teach people to do that, or anything along those lines?
I still offer that as one of the talks I give, and last year I think I gave it twice, and especially to a group up in Derby who um, they've got a large group of people who intervene in, you know, bailiffs and eviction cases and stuff. So it was kind of decided that it might be a lot better if they all had peace constable skills to be able to approach you know, those situations, you know, with a bit more sort of a few more tools in their you know, armory, as it were. So yeah, that was a very good session we had there. But yeah, it's still there, and if anybody wants peace constable training, it's not really just for an individual. It's really for a community. If you've got like a community of people who want to do something like that, then it's really for that, not just for the you know, the individual.
Yeah, no, I mean, I could actually see how that would benefit and work correctly in a community. So, you know, if you just had, let's, I don't know, make up a number, say 10, like peace constables, and they all had, you know, the same uniform as what you were actually wearing, with the same knowledge and the same tools, because you do find that, let's just say, like, you know, the bailiffs, for instance, you know, I know that's like not the correct word for them, but they actually rely on fear. They rely on, I don't want to say ignorance, as people are ignorant, but you know, they haven't got the knowledge of what the actual law or the acts or the statutes are. And this is what they're relying on, so they can go in and literally lie and bully their way into people's homes and take their actual stuff.
Right. And what I teach people is not only, you know, what to say, what the legislation that you can use. It's also how to present yourself, how to stand, how to read the situation, and use your body language, the way you speak, and the way you stand, you know, to your advantage. You know, the police, you do this, and as you say, the bailiffs and that use just the fear aspect, but you can bring a lot of again, a lot of tools to bear on the situation, and you know, de-escalate it, and you know, have it go your way rather than their way.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you're talking about like body language, for sure that has a key role in it. But so does, like, you know, your actual mental ability and your confidence as well. You know, we teach a lot of self-defense. In fact, I used to train professional fighters, and a lot of it was just about meditation and your mental preparedness for it, which is a complete and utter winning or losing scenario. And that type of thing. I mean, do you teach that on the course, or is it something you try to get people to go out and search for after?
No, I show people that okay, for instance, the way you stand. Let me take a step back. Um, when you feel a certain way, your body responds by acting a certain way, right? But it's a two-way street. So if your body is positioned a certain way, you start to feel the corresponding way. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're you know, standing opposite let's say a bailiff, right, and you're kind of hunched over, you know, and you know, and kind of I don't know, limp, and you will feel less empowered. But if you stand up straight, yeah, and chin up slightly, and you know, you put your hands behind your back, you all of a sudden feel confident, and you look confident. You project confidence out there. And you start to feel it because you're in that pose, right? So that, you know, changes the dynamic of the situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I teach people things like that you know, help them project confidence and almost superiority in the conversation, um,
Yeah, yeah.
rather than inferiority, because we are taught in this society to be um, uh, what's the word? It's like subservient, politely subservient.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So when we do these role plays in the course, we do these role plays where you have to pretend to be a peace constable, and you have somebody pretending to be a police officer, and so on. The peace constables got to interject themselves into the conversation. So you got a police officer, and you got a victim, and somehow the peace constable's got to inject himself into that conversation. And the very first time people do the role play, they inject themselves into the conversation by saying something like "sorry" or "excuse me" or something like that, right? Which is that subservient politeness. Do you see what I mean? It puts you at a sort of lower level, a sort of pleading level with the one you're trying to talk to, rather than a confident yeah, my name is, and I'm a peace constable, and you know, I'm here to protect this man's rights. Right? That is that puts you in that scenario, and you know, you're in there with confidence, and it's very clear what you're doing. But when you're sort of, excuse me, you know, it's you're now almost begging the authority figure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, you know, to actually be able to do it, I mean, it must be good fun when they're actually trying to work. And obviously, I think in this scenario, when you're doing role play, you do. I think the first thing you're going to feel is self-conscious, or Dave's looking at me. He's going to think I'm daft. And, you know, I'm scared to do it. I'm embarrassed because I've never done it before. I haven't got that confidence. But on role play, it's the only way to develop the confidence without diving in at the sharp end and trying to develop it face on, where they're actually going to like be quite aggressive to you anyway.
Well, the funny thing that happens in these role plays is usually the person playing the police officer starts really getting into being a police officer. Yeah.
Wow.
And literally there was a couple of times that I brought along like a fluorescent jacket and a sort of play police helmet type thing. But people would get into the role, and there were a few people who really, I think they're missing their career choice, because they literally really got into the police constable role, and it made it very real for the people who are actually playing with them.
That's very interesting. Yeah, you know, have you ever seen that film that they made about the experiment they did in New York, where they actually split the group into two? What this was going to be the prisoners, and they were going to be the
Stanford
warders.
Prison Experiment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and how crazy the actual prison officers just turned.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's it. It's psychology. Most of this system is built on psychology, right from the uniforms, you know, psychologically designed to inspire fear and unease. Yeah, and yeah, everything in this system is about exploiting our psychological weaknesses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the psychological weaknesses that have been developed from birth, right? Even your parents doing it to you without them knowing it, because it's just going through the same role as they did. But then after you're old enough at 4 years or whatever it is to go into these government indoctrination camps, to be like literally honed into quiet, like docile, little obedient drones.
Indeed, that's the whole point of school, is to obey authority. You know, you're not there to learn anything. The thing I've realised since I left school was I didn't learn anything in school. I learned everything after school. So why did I go to that place for what 12 years or whatever it was? It was to learn to obey authority and, you know, accept this prison system.
Yeah, well, it's a preparation for prison. You know, I was watching. I can't remember what it was, but it was showing these images, and it was like the dining room of these schools, and there was a wide selection of schools, and then they showed you the dining rooms in these prisons, and they're identical. It's preparing you for a. I've always said we live on a prison planet anyway, I've always said that. This is like it is. There's no way that we don't even belong here. We've been taken from somewhere else and put here, and it's got a firmament over there, so we can't escape. But yeah, it's the whole thing is about prison.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't actually even looked at a school since I left it, but a couple of years ago we were doing the serving liability notices to the schools. So I went to a school again for the first time since I left it, and I was shocked because it literally was a prison. There were fences that were like 12 foot tall all the way around the school. It's like
Yeah.
it's a prison camp, you know. So yeah, and we weren't brought here. This place was designed for us,
Mm.
right? Literally designed for us. But, and this is where it gets all science fictiony, um, there's been an invasive species that has invaded this place, and they've constructed this prison planet around us. You know, while we weren't looking, essentially, we weren't taking any notice while they constructed this thing, and now the the way it seems to me is the 19th century was about establishing the groundwork, and the 20th century was about testing and developing all the systems. Now the 21st century is implementation. So during the 20th century, for the most part, we were allowed to play in the sun while we worked in their jobs to develop the systems for them. And now we've developed the systems for them. Now that's when it's all coming into play now.
Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. Because if you look at, well, I tell you, some of the videos that I've watched of yours, talking about the alternative history is just amazing. And from there, I've actually watched others, showing it, and it's quite shocking, And I was looking at, obviously, I know my accent's not the same, but I'm from Scotland. I'm Scottish. I've like got a Scottish heritage and also tied into Ireland. And then when I was looking at these videos to show how different it was, and the name Stuart, and they were describing these people Stuart, and I was like, hang on. So I had to go back and watch it all again. But obviously it doesn't look like me, but it resonated though. And thinking, yeah, you know what? I mean, it's all just been about ethnic cleansing and changing that's a huge reset, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, obviously the Stuarts comes from the word swart, which is where swarthy comes from, which means black. So the Scots and the Irish were black people. Now there is it starts to make sense why there was this hatred between the English and the Irish and the Scots. It wasn't because of politics or anything like that. It was an ethnic thing, because the English or the Anglish are Germans. That's it. They invaded from Germany, and essentially they started attacking all the black people who lived in Britain and Scotland and Ireland.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know how you would sort of like get that over to everybody, but it doesn't. I mean, it's actually written down in books as well. I mean, it's not like you're going and just, oh, do you know what? I've had this amazing dream and an idea. I'm just going to go start telling everyone. I mean, right? So anybody who's looked at history, you're thinking, what's wrong with it? What's missing? Because all of these books have gone. How comes there's these books on this period, but there's not on periods before or after? It's like they're trying to hide everything, aren't they? And then the
Yeah,
bits fall into place.
yeah. Again, for the bits to fall into place, you need a key, and until you find that key, nothing makes sense. You find that key, and everything fits around it. So, but yeah, they literally destroyed all the evidence of what happened. I think there was somebody called Thomas Cromwell who destroyed 97% of all artwork, manuscripts, and any documentation. 97%, and then everything was repainted, resculpted, and everything after that. But just from a logical point of view, when Oliver Cromwell came in, he was tasked to exterminate the Irish, and he went in with his soldiers and he killed virtually every Irish man he could find. And those he didn't kill, they transported to their new colonies in the Caribbean. Okay. And it turns out that he was so successful, the population in Ireland went down by 40%. Well, that's essentially all the males gone. So how does a population of black women survive if there's no men? Well, Oliver Cromwell couldn't pay his soldiers, so he gave these soldiers lands in Ireland and Scotland, as it were, and those lands came with titles. And if you saw Braveheart, you remember when the king said, "We're going to have to introduce a new custom, prima nocta." Yeah, do you remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The problem with Scotland is it's full of Scots, so if we can't get them out, we'll breed them out.
Well, if you want to make that line more accurate, it would have been, it's full of blacks. So that's why he wants to breed them out. I mean, so that's what they did. They raped the women who remained in Ireland, and the darker skinned offspring got transported over to the Caribbean. The lighter skinned ones got to stay. You do that for 300 years, you end up with a white population in Ireland, and what happens is a lighter and lighter skinned population end up going over to the Caribbean, and those lighter skinned ones would get the overseers jobs. So from the perspective of the Caribbean, it was white people who were coming over. But from the perspective of Ireland, it was black people being sent over. And it turns out that it was only in 1940 when the Irish gained white status. Until then, they weren't considered white, but after 1940, they were now white. I think there's a racial slur in America. There's loads of racial slurs for black people. And in America, one of them is smoked Irish for a black person. Smoked Irish. When my parents came over to England from the Caribbean, they saw the signs on the boarding houses that said no blacks, no dogs, no Irish. And I always wondered, why are the Irish lumped in with the black people? It's because in America and in this country as well, but it's more known in America, there's something called the one drop rule. So that means 1 drop of Negro blood makes you a Negro. So the Irish, even in the 1950s and 60s, still had that stigma of having Negro blood. So that's why they were essentially thrown in with the black people coming over from the Caribbean.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, go on.
I was just going to say, as far as Scotland's concerned, a lot of the Scots ended up in Jamaica. So have you noticed what the Jamaican flag looks like?
Yeah, it does actually, doesn't it?
It is the St. Andrew's flag. Except they just changed the colors.
Yeah.
And if you go to Jamaica and just do the audio equivalent of relaxing your eyes and just listen to the accent, you're going to start to hear a Scottish accent behind this Jamaican accent.
Right. Wow. Hey, I bet you can just. But then again, these are the things that I've only just started looking at that for the last couple of months. I mean, I've seen things before years ago, and it's like you see it, and it's like, you know, talk about like that they had like black nobility and everything, but it's actually 2 or 3 videos that I had watched, and then found your video on it as well. So then started watching yours, and like I say, this is just like kind of that is the key that's just went, oh, ding 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 ding, and all the dominoes are falling down to actually make it your mind actually feels more at ease, thinking, "Ah, do you know what, all of that actually makes sense now, and I can see how they actually did that, you know." But yeah, and what you're saying about like the Jamaican flag, just I mean, that's just, it's hitting you in the face, isn't it? It's like, again, the truth hidden in plain sight.
Absolutely. And it's not about race either, because we're in, according to the Old Testament, we're in a time called the confusion of face. So essentially, you can't look at somebody and know immediately who they are. You know, so you know, you look at a white guy, you don't know where he, you know, his lineage comes from. In one of my videos, I show a guy called Cedric Barber, and in one part of this video, he's standing in front of a painting of a guy called Francis Barber, who's the black manservant of Samuel Johnson. And he's standing there and he's saying, yeah, Francis had a son called Enoch, and Enoch had a son called Edward, and Edward had a son called Norman, and Norman had a son called Cedric, and that's me. So, but you wouldn't know. You'd look at this white guy, normal looking white guy, but he descended from this Negro manservant.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Just going back to what you were talking about before, when you mentioned Thomas Cromwell, and he under Henry VIII, and this is what they called the Reformation, and he actually went out and destroyed about like yeah, you're correct, it is about like, well, nearly all of the actual churches. We've got a priory here, they call it a priory, don't know, like, you know, but it was for the monks, and it's completely destroyed. Well, you know, they've got a few walls and that, you know, it's right on the mouth of the River Tyne in Tynemouth. You know, this beautiful little part of Newcastle, you know, on that town, and I'm pretty sure that they actually destroyed that, and that they actually had a specialized team that would dismantle all the glass. And when they dismantled all the glass, because it was all colored glass, all the different colors, that would have been showing the pictures of the true, like, ethnicity of what they were actually trying to get rid of. So they couldn't have those pictures in there. So they, again, with the churches, they would have had all of the artwork of the what they would have seen Jesus as well, right? They got rid of everything. They burned as much as they could. They broke down all of the glass, and so they could sell it later on. But it was all dismantled into all the different colors instead of making a picture. I mean,
Yeah.
that makes sense. I mean, I've read it a few times, and obviously when I was looking at it, it was because of the third crown, the convocation crown, that the actual or the Phoenicians got him with the Venetians, so he could actually take over the country on their behalf, right, and get rid of like the where they were trying to get rid of the Vatican. They were fighting each other all the time. But when you put it into that context as well, it actually makes even more sense.
Well, that was a process that was it's actually started in Europe. We call that the Renaissance. So again, all the artwork was destroyed, and most people think of, when they think of the Renaissance, is like this explosion of art. Well, yeah, the explosion of art was only there because they destroyed all the previous art. So they reconstituted the same artwork, but in, you know, in different colors, shall we say. But here's the thing, though, that Renaissance period didn't get to Russia. So it went through Europe, you know, through sort of Southern Europe, but didn't get as far up as Russia. So Russia retains all the original religious icons. So yeah, all these Russian icons. If you go onto Google Images or something, put in Russian icons, you'll find all these characters from the Bible were depicted as black. So yeah, it was just as you say. They would literally destroying and making sure that nobody ever sees that the true identity of all these characters.
Yeah, amazing. But as well as if you tie that into the actual structures as well, so not only were they trying to actually get literally ethnic cleansing, get rid of a race, but also the memory of it, but they actually got rid of it through the actual structures as well. So kind of, if you look, and everybody says, well, there was this, this existence of a people like called Tartarians from Tartaria, and you just look at Russia, it's basically intact. And all those amazing buildings that you look at, I mean, we have a handful of them which are now being taken over by, say, the royal family in Buckingham Palace, or these cathedrals and everything. You think, well, how comes we can't make anything like that now? But if you look there, they've actually destroyed all of that over the centuries. So compared to Russia, which, I mean, I know a guy, I follow him, and walks around Russia and shows it's such a beautiful, beautiful place. And compare it to what we've got, they've got rid of everything.
Well, I look at the Tartaria stuff. So a couple of things I never really got into was Tartaria and mud flood. But as I'm a flat earther, we came across this guy actually put out a video a few years ago called Lost History of Flat Earth. And he put forward this idea that the moon, so the patterns on the moon actually are like a map of the Earth. And so if you look at the face of the moon, for instance, one corner of that Earth, of that moon, is our present Earth. There's more Earth, but we only inhabit one corner of that map. So the Earth, as far as I understand it, if you imagine it's a large lake that's been frozen over, and you've got a heat source, the sun, moving around one quarter of that lake, and it's melting out a puddle. Okay, that's our Earth. That puddle is our Earth. Now, the sun is actually going around a magnetic center, which itself is moving slowly around the greater Earth. So as it moves around, it's melting out a different puddle as it goes around. Right? So what happens is, over time, continents disappear under the ice and new continents appear from under the ice. And what I believe is found on these continents when people move there are cities that are already built and that people used to live in. But what happens is, as the ice melts, that water has to go somewhere. So it stirs up all the silt. And as the water drains away, the silt settles at a different level and it submerges, or either completely or partially submerges these cities. So people sort of move to these continents and go, oh, what's this structure here? And they start digging and they find an entire city. And then they say, oh, we built it. But actually, they don't say that. They never say we built it. They say we founded it. Mm-hmm. So I believe this architecture they call Tartarian is actually like the world architecture, but it's not this world's architecture or our world's architecture, because they've gone through to great lengths to destroy that architecture, so we don't sort of figure out that we're not the pinnacle of human achievement, because we can't build those places today. So we're definitely not the pinnacle, right? So we're in a controlled environment that that they've built up around us, and they've given us a story to believe that we are, you know, everything is naturally occurred, and it's all evolution. And here we are, the top of the tree. It doesn't get any better than us, and this is the best sort of society that we could come up with.
Yeah, yeah. I've never bought onto the evolution thing, because I mean, even if they said, well, if we came from, like, you know, apes and moved up, well, how comes they're still there then?
Exactly, exactly. No,
It's,
the evolution thing can't work, because when you look at how everything is interconnected, so you've got this animal who depends on, you know, this plant, and that plant depends on that insect, and that insect depends on, you know, these birds who do this, and so on and so on. It all has to come into place all at once. So no, they can't be all these things, you know, evolving, you know, at their own time, at their own pace. And also because, um, okay, so they say you've got this dinosaur that evolved into a bird. So, you know, you got the little dinosaur, the little stubby arms, and then somehow it evolved into a bird with wings. But before that dinosaur could end up with a functioning wing, it would have had a non-functioning arm for a long time. How does an animal with an arm that doesn't work
yeah,
survive? You know, no, it doesn't. None of it makes sense. So no, it's not true.
yeah, exactly. Especially if, you know, with no arms to protect itself, everything else is going to try and eat it. So it wouldn't have had time to evolve anyway, would it? It would have got
No,
eaten up well before it actually had the thousands of years, or whatever they say, millions of years to evolve. But
yeah,
I mean, I think, you know, it doesn't take like huge amounts of like critical thinking to actually start to make everything crumble. And then there's these big cracks that appear in the normal like story. And some of it is just so ridiculous that you think, hang on, there's no way in the world that that could ever be true. But I think obviously the way that it's portrayed, like the school that we talked about before, the indoctrination camps, and you get it. I mean, the propaganda that comes out from every angle and every single piece of material that you could see, you know, like from, you know, radio and television. Not that I ever watch television. The only time I hear the radio is when I turn it on to leave it on for the dogs when I go out the house. And then unfortunately, you might hear some stuff, but apart from that, it's nothing else that's on. But you're shot at like all the time, like shotgun pellets flying around you all the time, isn't it?
how dare you indoctrinate your dogs? Why are you doing that?
I only taught them Spanish.
Yeah, you're right though. I mean, this is it's very clever. I mean, the ones behind this are very intelligent, and yes, they have to bombard us with this stuff constantly. In fact, that's why television and films are so violent. They have to be violent because humans aren't naturally violent. They're not, you know, they're not hateful and they're not murderers and that. But you can program people into being that just by, you know, continually telling them this is the way to be, this is the way to be, this is the way to be. And I have, I found this video of something called the sharing experiment. I don't know if you come across it.
No. How do you spell that?
Just a sharing experiment.
Oh, okay.
So what happens is you get two children of you know, any age. You can have like an 11-year-old and a 3-year-old, right? And they're sitting at a table, and in front of them is a couple of plates with those covers over them. And the adult in the room says, "Okay, I'm going to leave the room, and you know, count to 3, and then lift the covers off." So the adult leaves the room. They lift the covers off, and one child's got a sandwich, and the other one hasn't got anything. So what happens automatically, without either of them thinking about it, the one with the sandwich picks it up, rips it in half, and gives the other half to the other child. And it doesn't matter what ages and everything you get. they automatically do it without even thinking about it. Somehow, and there's no somehow about it, we lose that, and we lose that because of our exposure to this system, this society that says no. It's all dog eat dog. It's all survival of fittest, yeah. And you don't share. You hang on to the stuff that you get hold of, yeah. And you can imagine if you did that with two adults, the adult with a sandwich would just tuck into it and go, yeah, sucks to be you, you know.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, you can imagine that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. No, I get that now. The sharing experiment. I thought I've never actually seen that, but yeah, I've seen similar things. But I mean, it just when you look at it, sort of like how would I explain this? Where sort of like I've come into an angle when I'm trying to explain to people who they are and look. So like, don't follow, but don't swallow all of this legislation, right? Know about it and everything, but don't believe that they're talking about you. And they're actually got this actual fiction, and they've created a fiction, and they call it like legislation, and they call your fictional side a person. So your person fits into this legislation because you can't, because you're not actually part of their fiction. So you have to try and intermingle them. I mean, if you look at it that way, which is obviously I can see from behind, like the historic part, everything that we've spoke of there, which is just amazes me. Just you just sit for hours just delving into all of that fantastic like knowledge and seeing what's really happened, but trying to get people to take any responsibility for themselves instead of being, well, that person there, and then trying to get them to accept, this might not be true. Sometimes I think that's why you can end up getting a lot of stick off others because they don't want to be like not the norm. They don't want to be like outside of what is accepted normally. So we get thrown away, and the black sheep of the family, and you're weird and you're crazy, and you're I get a lot. You're a flat earther.
Well, I know as I said earlier on, it's all psychology. Yeah, they know that we are social animals. Yeah, we are, the ultimate social animal. So none of us really wants to be outside of society. Away from everyone else. We all want to fit in with each other. So they exploit that. But I like to see this whole thing more like a game, because it is a game. Right. So the legislation, well, that's literally nothing. It's rules of a corporation. It's like the Tesco's handbook. If you work for Tesco's, the Tesco's employees handbook, tells you all the rules and regulations and things you have to follow, things you have to do, things you're not allowed to do, and so on. But those don't apply to you if you don't work for Tesco's.
Yeah.
So, but if you want to follow those rules, you can, if you want, all right? And you can, if you follow those rules, then you have to accept the punishments that go with them. But really, if you don't work for Tesco's, you can ignore them, right? The only thing is that they've built up a house of cards around all these rules so that they look solid and they look real and they look like they apply to you, but they don't. So if you see this as a game, and if you know the rules of the game, then you can play well, and you can sort of well, I don't like saying beat them, because you never really beat them, because at the very least they take your time and attention away from you. So, but you can stump their attempts to fine you and punish you and stuff like that. Do you want me to go into my approach to things like that?
Definitely.
Okay, so let's imagine you, Les, for instance. Okay.
Yeah.
So the game is they are trying to say that on a certain day, at a certain time, right, at a particular location, you, I don't know, you violated their ULEZ policy. Okay. So they're trying again. The House of Cards says, okay, this is a real thing. ULEZ, you're not allowed to go in there, and if you go in there and do that, then you've caused somebody some kind of injury or harm. Yeah. Obviously you haven't. So it's again, it's the employees handbook thing again. So because they said that on this date, this time, on this location, you did something. So let me ask you, where were you? I'm talking to you now, Peter. Where were you 2 weeks ago on Wednesday at 5:45 and 30 seconds? You don't know, right?
No.
So you know their notice that comes through the door says that at 2 weeks ago on Wednesday at 5:45 and 30 seconds, you were at that place. So you can legitimately say, I have no record of being at that place at that time because I don't know if I was there or not. Do you have evidence I was there? Well, turns out they don't. They have no evidence whatsoever. Now, next thing that people will say is, well, they've got a photograph of me and of my car. And it's like, oh, they've got me. Photograph, there it is. But a photograph isn't evidence. It can support a witness statement, but it can't be evidence on its own. Yeah, a camera is not a witness. Right? So, you know, if a camera was a witness, you could go to court and say, I call the camera. I want to hear the camera's testimony, which is clearly ridiculous. So, no, a camera is not a witness, and a photograph isn't evidence. So, when they show you the picture, you can actually say, that picture looks very much like my car, but do you have any evidence it is my car? I have an article that says, and I can't remember what year it's from, but it's recent years, that there was over 1 million false ANPR readings. So how do you know that yours wasn't one of these false ANPR readings? Because the only thing that differentiates your car, your particular car, from maybe 50,000 other identical cars on the road is that number plate. So how do you know that an ANPR reading was a correct one? How do you know that your car wasn't cloned? How do you know that when that picture was taken, there was a bit of bird shit on the number plate that made an F look like an E, or a C look like a G, or any number of things? How do you know that that's my car? Have you got any evidence it's my car? And they haven't. So the photograph and the notice itself is there to, again, exploit your psychology, is to make you confess. That's all. Right? And without a confession, they've got nothing. Right? And there's no way they can go to court, right, with no evidence, especially if you know that they need evidence to do anything to you. Right? There's no way they can go to court with no evidence. Of course, if you don't know and you've got no idea that they need evidence in that, they will convict you. Right? But if you know how the game's played, then there's no way they can go to court without evidence. So that's why they use all these other tricks to try and get money out of you, because they can't do it in any legitimate way.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, this is what we say quite a lot to people as well. You know, the old speeding camera. So they've got a photograph of the car. Apparently, it's doing this. Apparently, it's doing that. And then they put the witness in, and it's a police constable doing a witness who was never ever there. So, well, but you need to have a corroborating witness. You can't have someone writing it after the actual event. It has to be a witness is a man or a woman who did witness. It isn't a past event. It's something that's actual, like the present,
Yeah.
and they have to be present.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's somebody who has first-hand knowledge of the situation at hand, and as you say, somebody sitting in an office who says, and I saw this on one of their notices that somebody witnessed that they got this report in. That's
Yeah.
that's what they witnessed. They saw this report come in. Right? But the law comes in about witnesses. That comes from the Old Testament. I think it's Deuteronomy 19:16 that says, "Out of the mouths of two or three witnesses shall a matter be decided." So they can't even just have one witness. They need at least two witnesses, right,
Mhm.
before they can convict you of anything. Um, and stepping back from that, they're trying to fine you, and this is going to like all the camera triggered so-called offences apart from speeding. They're trying to fine you before they've convicted you of something. Right? In this country, you're presumed innocent until proven guilty. Yeah,
Mhm.
so you can't punish as a presumed innocent person. Yeah. Um, and that's enshrined in the Bill of Rights Act 1689 and Magna Carta Article 39, I believe it is. I can't remember
Mhm.
offhand. Um, so, and those are constitutional, or well, a Bill of Rights 1689 is constitutional statute and cannot be repealed. Um, so it's there to stop punishment before conviction. So you can use that against these camera triggered offences. You can't use it against notice of intended prosecutions, because the police there are using a very sneaky trick. They're not fining you. What they're doing is saying, we're going to prosecute you, but you can settle out of court for this much. So that's how they get around the 1689 Bill of Rights by just saying, oh no, we're just gonna offer you a settlement. Yeah.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
but again, they have got no evidence whatsoever, and this is why they resort to the tricks like a single justice procedure, which is essentially them bypassing court just to do a summary judgment based on your confession.
Yeah.
That's it. All right. So, but you have to agree to that summary justice procedure. So if they can't do that, if they can't get you to admit or agree to that, then they will take you to court without you knowing, which they can't really get away with, because it's Magistrates Court Act 1980, Section 14 says the all proceedings are fraudulent, or not fraudulent, but they're invalid if the defendant didn't know about them. So if they take you to court without you knowing, you have to do what they call a statutory declaration, right? A declaration of truth, to say I didn't know about it, and then
Mhm.
all the points and the fine or whatever get chucked out, and now they
Mhm.
have to start again. so so yeah, if you know how the game is played, as I said, you know how to stump them at every turn. But you have to treat the process diligently. There are a lot of people and it really annoys me. A lot of people who come along, see that there are templates there. They think, oh, if I send this template off, I just paste my name in the appropriate places and send it off. That'll be the end of it. I can walk away and you know carry on with my life, go back to being a muggle. But they don't understand that there's a whole process there, and something you need to understand. You can't do it sort of blindly, because if they sense weakness, they will keep coming after you. They sense weakness, they'll just roll over you. And I get it all the time. People come up to my Telegram group, and they grab a template, and then they come back a week or so later going, I got a response. What do I do now? What do I do now? The process is fairly simple, right? And you just have to sit there and read and do a little bit of study before you start it, and then you know what to do next.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think it's coming down to the immediate gratification. It's like, well, I ordered it on Amazon, I can actually get it tomorrow. It's like, well, I found this template, so I don't have to do any work, right?
Yeah.
Dave's going to fill it in for me, and then everything's going to magically disappear. And I was talking about this actually last night in our meeting, and I was going over this. I said, I'm going to show you something, but please don't take it as a template. I'm going to design it, I'm going to give you it later, but look, you must understand it, because if someone asks you a question on it later and you can't explain why you've written that line there, then you haven't written that line there.
Yeah.
And obviously I'm working quite closely with it's a private group, so they will get it in time. But like generally, they go onto a Telegram group, they go onto a Facebook group, they snatch it off the files, they take it away, and then they don't know what's going on, and then they complain when someone is like, they get this coming back to them. It's even worse than the first one, the first notice that they actually got telling them they're going to get prosecuted on a what do you call it, single justice procedure or whatever it is.
Yeah, well, for me, it's kind of a little worse than that. People just grab the template, send it off, and then they get into lots of trouble. They don't, they try and do it, figure it out themselves, and end up with like a big fine. And because they like to, police and all that, they like to really hammer you if you try and challenge them. Yeah, and if you don't know what you're doing, you end up with a massive fine and points and whatever. And I just get people come back and say, well, I sent a notice and it didn't work, and they hammered me with this, and yeah, it's all rubbish.
Yeah, and it's all your fault.
It's all your fault. But yeah, but that is the key. It's not about the paperwork. The paperwork, it does nothing. In fact, the proper use of a template is not to send it off to whoever it is. It's for you to understand what the process is. It's you study the template, and so you understand it, and then you write your own in your own words, as long as you don't change the core of the template. Yeah, that's how you're supposed to use a template. But most people, a template, I just paste my name in here and they'll send it. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we do like very similar on when I'm dealing with like the debt, and then trying to get people to actually comprehend why you're actually sending what you're sending and what you're asking for, and why it actually works. And a lot of people just they want it sent and they just want it all to disappear without actually getting to grips with it. And then again, this is the big thing on the debt. So easy to get rid of. If you've got this debt collection company, well, okay, all right, I'll take that back. It's not so easy to get rid of. You do need to work and study. You've got to get some knowledge on it, and you've got to put some time into it. But once you actually see the steps and you can figure out the legislation, not only on the legislation on the actual debt side, going from the FCA and also from the Law of Property Act, the miscellaneous provisions, as well as the one Law of Property Act 1925, but then look at the GDPR and DPA part, which they disintegrate these debt companies. It's as if it doesn't exist for them, and they don't think that you know it, right? That's the whole thing. So they're trying to play on your ignorance as well as the fear, and if they put time in to study it, I'll tell you what, I mean, if you could actually go and get yourself into loads of debt and make a bit of a good living out of getting rid of it from these debt companies and actually suing them for smashing your GDPR,
Right.
if you study it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've got it down to now. I have toolkits that I've put together. So they come with like a README first file, which has the whole process from start to finish, why you're doing it, what your the aim is, So when you do something like ULEZ or red light camera tickets or whatever, what you're aiming for is an evidence pack that is your court case, right? So whatever happens after that, you've already got a summary judgment, right, in place. So the matter has been dealt with, and everything else hangs off of that. But this is why people who send one template in and hope it's all gone don't get it, because they don't get the whole scope of it. But hopefully now I've boiled it down to one toolkit and made it plain. And to be honest, at the moment, I'm getting a lot fewer what do I do now questions, so it must be working.
So for that then, if somebody wants to actually get a hold of that toolkit, how do they go about getting a hold of that toolkit from you?
Well, right now it's on. I've got a Telegram group called Ask Allegedly Dave. It's like a Q&A group. They'll be on there, or they can email me and I'll send it to them.
Cool. Okay. So to email it, would they go onto your website? Is that where you would like them to go, or just email?
Just email me. I should actually update my website, because it's got like old versions of my notices and stuff, and I've worked on them since then. But yeah, just email me, dmurphy25@gmail.com.
Brilliant. Okay, because that would be really good for people. I'm actually just busy now planning and working on doing a YouTube, what do you call it? Like a series of videos where I'm going to actually show them why you should do the first DSOR and what you're actually looking for and what you're asking for. And I'm talking about unsecured debt. That's all I'm talking about. So I'm going to show them it, just like, look, this is why you would do it, how you would do it, and what you would expect to get back. And then go through the actual stage all the way through. And the way I'm doing it is how to actually target them using GDPR, so actually how you're going to actually not just get rid of them, but get something back off them for actually, they are like, taking away your peace, aren't they? Yeah. So we need some compensation for that. That's what I'm to do at the minute, but not so much of like a toolbox or how, but just videos like that. And I'm going to do a series on the first one, what you expect back, then the second one, what you expect back, right up the way until you could actually put in an N1 claim against them. So we'll see.
The only trouble is, I started trying to do that for speeding tickets and utilities and things like that, but you always get, for some reason, people who misunderstand what you've been saying in the video, and they go off in a different direction, and just because you've not spelled something out that you didn't think needed to be spelled out,
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that is true as well. And I have had quite a bit of hassle from that, and saying, yeah, but you didn't mention this part of it. I was thinking, well, yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, I thought that was common sense, but no, it isn't.
Yeah.
The most uncommon thing in the world is sense.
Yeah, well, we are dealing with, there are should we say, muggles out there who again, I've got a science fiction-y reason for why they're here, but there are muggles out there who don't really want to understand what's going on. They don't really want to challenge the system. They just want to not pay a fine or something. They want to get out of something. Not want to realize that they're not actually in anything, if that makes sense.
No, I get that, Pete. Yeah, and it's, that's the thing is, I'm not trying to wake anybody up anymore, so, but it's just, I still like to put out like information to try and get people to realize there's a lot more to this realm than what we're actually being led to believe, But you know, sometimes it definitely feels like you're swimming against the tide, but we've got to keep trying anyway.
Mm.
You know.
Well, what I'm finding out these days is, there is a lot more to this realm um, than we realize, and the one of the points of this system is to keep us away from how this world really works and our role in it. Um, so I believe our role in this world is to experience it. Simple as that. We're here to experience it in our own unique way, because every one of us is absolutely unique. Every one of us has got things that you can do that nobody else can do. Yeah, um, by virtue of the fact that only you see through your eyes here and now. So you've got a unique perspective on the world. So you've got a unique take on the world. And that means you can come up with something that nobody else will ever come up with. And that's what it is. It's, to experience everything that can be experienced. So to be able to fulfill that role, I believe we have certain abilities that have been suppressed and hidden from us, and those abilities are to be able to shape this world in the way that you want it. Not in a massive way that I'd like to move that continent over there. No, to shape your experience so you can draw into your universe, the things that you need to have a particular experience that you want.
Mhm.
So essentially, you can shape your world. So yeah, I'm starting to find what how it works and how to do it.
Brilliant.
And
Absolutely brilliant.
that's my next talk actually.
Yeah, definitely for sure. So I tell you what, I'll wrap it up there then, because I don't want to take too much of your sunshine away from you. Over there in St. Lucia, but also, I want to keep people mega interested, so they're like, oh yeah, I want some more of that. I'm going to go back and watch that one again. So hopefully we'll get some time later on and do another one and chat again. So I would love that. But thank you very much for your time and for your knowledge and for sharing and just for being you, really. So is there anything you want to finish off with before we go?
Oh no, that's about it really, because I just think you've got to not get too caught up in this world. The way this system is. It's a game. It really is a game. And if you stop getting so het up and worried about what how this game is being played, and relax and play it as a game, it becomes enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, don't worry about stuff. Yeah, and just treat it as a game.
Definitely, which is exactly why we're calling it Checkmate the Matrix, right? We need to get to play a better game of chess in this chess game of life, okay? So thank you everybody for watching. I hope you really enjoyed it. I'll put all the links to get a hold of allegedly Dave in all the Telegram groups and everything, and his website and all that. And have a look for the tour that he's going to be doing. Hopefully there'll be one near you and you can go and see him there live, okay? So thank you very much. And thank you very much again, Dave. And bless everyone. And we'll talk again soon.
Cheers.
All right. Stop recording there.